Hello and welcome back to this week's Tech News. And before we begin, a quick reminder for everyone to click the subscribe button. It's free and it does really help us in what we do. And while you're here, give us a like as it keeps us motivated to make more of these kinds of contents. Now let's get right into it. Now, according to Patrick Shaw on Twitter, he found that AMD is working on two models of an unreleased SKUs. Now prepare yourselves because we're gonna get a bit technical here. A 16-core CPU with a base clock of 3.4 GHz and boost up to 5.0 GHz, and a 6-core processor with a base clock of 3.7 GHz and boost up to 4.6 GHz. The former is allegedly the Ryzen 5 5950 XT, while the latter has identical clock speeds to a Ryzen 5 5600X. Now, theoretically we could be looking at a Ryzen 5 5600 XT. Also, so far, the rumors about a processor series codenamed Warhol supposedly featuring Zen 3 Plus core architecture haven't shown up in any leak, so even people like Patrick with access to tips like this in advance haven't really confirmed that this architecture is indeed coming. Gigabyte has now confirmed their new light hash rate graphics cards. After Galax, Gigabyte comes in second to confirm these cards in public. Now, unfortunately, you can't really tell the difference between these cards compared to the current ones, as Gigabyte simply released a second revision, Revision 2.0, of its entire GeForce RTX 3060 portfolio, and that includes Aorus Master, Vision OC, Gaming OC, and Eagle OC and Non-OC series. Now, what does this mean? Well, in summary, gamers actually shouldn't have to worry about this too much, as Nvidia promised that RTX 30 light hash rate series will have identical gaming performance, and the hash rate limiter only applies to cryptocurrency mining. So miners, leave these cards for the gamers. Corsair just teased new high capacity and high speed DDR5 models. This thing is set to double the current memory bandwidth and amps up the capacity of the current DDR4 models. Not only that, it'll also lower the power requirements needed from the current 1.2 volts for DDR4 to 1.1 volts for DDR5. Now, the only downside is DDR5 technology is currently not supported by any platform. But by the end of this year, we should see Intel 12th Gen Core codenamed Alder Lake S fully support the new standard. Now, Corsair also released a full comparison between the current DDR4 and the coming DDR5, going all over the changes yet to come. So, judging by this comparison, as a whole, it's pretty safe to say that DDR5 models will be a hit. In other news, Noctua's Fanless CPU cooler is finally close to launching, with the Austrian company tweeting on Sunday that it's coming very soon, as it's still on track for its quarter-to-year release. The company first introduced this idea for its passive CPU cooler at 2019's Computex trade show. This product basically gets rid of the fans on a standard CPU cooler and instead bulks up the metal heatsink to include bigger aluminum fins capable of distributing the heat. The upside? It was dead silent when testing. The downside? It was fairly large and weighed about 3.3 pounds, which is around 1.4 kilograms. The big question is, can it keep up the cooling of the CPU, or at least cool enough? Because during the CPU stress test in 2019, they demoed it with an Intel Core i9 9900K processor running at 95 watts. Was it running well? Yes, but the CPU got pretty hot as it reached 92 to 95 degrees Celsius. Well, you can almost boil water in there. But again, this was a stress test, so we don't really know what the average temperatures will be with it. And now, let's move on to some news on recent products. Not too long ago, Xiaomi started posting promotions for a new laptop in its lineup, which is to be called the Mi Notebook Pro X, or Mi Book Pro X. Now, Xiaomi did an official showcase on their Weibo channel. The design is set to be slick, slim, and light, but the true highlight is that it will come with no less than a GeForce RTX 3050 Ti laptop GPU, which should provide it with enough gaming power, although it's not going to compete with the gaming behemoth laptops. Potential buyers should also be aware that the RTX 3050 Ti comes in numerous PGP power levels, so clock speeds can vary all the way from 735 MHz to 1695 MHz. In any case, the Xiaomi Book Pro X looks to be a decent, though not really that spectacular option for mobile users and is scheduled to be released in June. The Realme Nozzle 30 launched earlier this week on Tuesday 18th of May as the company's newest addition to the lineup that already has the Nozzle 30A and Nozzle 30 Pro 5G. the new Realme phone comes with a 90Hz display on its 6.5-inch Full HD+, 1080 to 2400 pixels display with a 20:9 aspect ratio and 90.5% screen to body ratio. The smartphone also features triple rear cameras and carries a racetrack inspired chevron stripe at the back. Other highlights of this phone include a hole punch display design, 30 watts, fast charging, and 128GB of onboard storage. But if you really want a full review, check out the 360 review for a detailed overlook of the phone. Now onto something somewhat relatable to most of you guys, the pandemic. It is one of the main reasons why we're still currently facing a shortage on chips for a lot of things, and in this case, processors and graphics cards. And because of that, we've seen the price skyrocketed for both of these things. Well, the unfortunate news is that we might see another shortage because of an increase of cases in Taiwan. For those of you who don't know, TSMC, or Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, is the main chip provider for most GPUs and CPUs, and with the increase on cases, TSMC seems to be taking extra precautions to keep their work safe. All of this means that TSMC and other Taiwanese foundries are gonna have to face enormous pressure to maintain production levels, while contending with the possibility of new coronavirus related restrictions, not to mention a record drought and other obstacles. This might mean that we could see another increase in price if this keeps up, and honestly, I don't know how much more of this I can take. And that about covers it for this week of Tech News, so be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it or find it informative. Consider subscribing for similar contents like this, and leave a comment on what you think of the video and what we can improve on. We do read comments and we give likes when we can. Also, check out our other social media pages. We have loads of deals there if you're looking to get yourself some PC hardware, links down below. And that's all for now, and we'll see you next week for more tech news. Take care everyone.